Hey everyone, I'm making this video to sort of point out what some of the problems that RuneScape 3 has currently, and it's not necessarily the game's fault, it's not quite the developer's fault, but I genuinely feel like it's a very misunderstood game. So I just wanted to show you some things that made me realize that something needs to be done basically. I'm trying, I am only one player, but I'm trying my best to make a difference as much as I can. So we'll go to this website here called misplaceditems.com. It basically shows you a trend of the number of players in old school versus EOC and the total for jagex over time. So the way to at this is firstly, you don't want to look at it short term. You want to see like a long term trend. So this is basically the number of players that are online rather than the number of members or anything like that. And I think that's a much better indicator of the health of the game or the health of both games for jagex. So now obviously we can display it in terms of different years. So I'm thinking of doing, instead of what we have here, which is a very quick graduation, I'm going to do probably a month, and it takes us all the way back to 2013. So every graduation is like a month basically. So what we can see here is that in blue we have old school RS, in yellow we have EOC, and then in red we have the total. So the total is pretty high around 2013, and then it dips really low to around literally almost half of what it was in October 2013. That is a big problem for jagex. But then something started to pick up, and that was old school and RS3 actually. So the both started to pick up because they did some major differences for both, I think. And so the old school started speaking up, EOC a little bit, it's RuneScape 3. And so the numbers started going up. And then it sort of dwindles around here, but it's generally on the rise overall for jagex. This is the total for both old school and RS. Around this point here, around that October 2015 is what I generally call it, is when old school RS started to take over RS3, and that trend's been continuing for some time. So RS3 is having a bit of a problem in that sort of trend. Now let's go to the quarter year trend, and now we can also again see that a similar issue, the same thing is reflected, except the graduation is just not as detailed. So yeah, RS3 is overall at its lowest point ever. And I always did wonder, the RS3 endgame is very appealing. It's quite complicated versus old school. So what is the reason for why RS3 is not doing well, whereas old school is picking up, whereas it's got probably the inferior graphics. It's a more old school type of game. And there are a couple of reasons. Some of them are inexcusable, such as like microtransactions. But the main problem I found with RuneScape 3 is that people just don't, there's not enough new players coming into RS3. And the main reason for that is because people are getting very confused when they start the game. So when they start the game, they go, whoa, at all the interfaces, the combat system, nothing makes sense. It's overwhelming. It's way too different. Especially if it's a returning player, they look at it and go, what is this? And they see that an old school version is available. They will forfeit their training and stats on the RS3 and start again from scratch on old school RS. And that's a bit of a problem because the availability of old school RS is preventing these players from giving RS3 a go, where we know that the end game is sweet. It is ripe with lots of content. So RS3 has that problem where a lot of people are not starting the game and pursuing it because of confusion and lack of guidance, etc. And I think now it's gotten to a point where the player base needs to make the most difference in the game. So how a player base can make a difference, the people that are experienced, that are passionate about the game, can intervene at these people. Generally they're free-to-play players who are quite willing to get members, because it's not very expensive to get members. So if you can invest them into the game, help them out to start with, help them with interfaces and so on, then we can make a huge difference. I'm going to be making a few guides on what the interfaces are and what they do very soon. But overall, I think it has to come from the players. And developers can only do so much, but there's nothing beats like a human to human level of guidance. I don't mean spending 5 hours a day with that person playing. I mean just being available for them to message you at any point, while even if you're offline. So that means using Discord or something to speak to you and then get some advice, and then you just sort of guide them and say, oh yeah, do this or something, and then they know what to do. Just something like that. That help being available is all that needs to be done. At the moment, I'm in the process of like identifying players who are just starting out, and I've had quite a bit of success. I think I've recruited 14 people in about 2 to 3 days that are just free to play, sub 500 total level beginners, who half of them have actually decided to get membership, and they were free to play before, after we guided them and helped them. So that's pretty good. And then the others most of them are considering membership as well. So I feel like the intervention is actually working, and I just want to see if we can take this a bit further, and then maybe other people around RS can start employing it for their own Discord and so on. So that's the overall plan here. It's a long road, but it's potentially a very rewarding road for generally the RuneScape 3 community. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to make further guides on how to make interfaces, how to just understand combat levels, what matters and what doesn't matter when you start off on RuneScape 3 basically.